Even though we're going to be moving from Eric's great examples of big branding examples into talking about local and the practicality of sort of moving foot traffic into stores, it is grounded in creative. In fact, I would urge you, even while you're listening to the details of Kristin's case study, to go to Meguiars.com on your cell phones. At the core of what she's about to talk about is just a great, beautiful, simple, but elegant and rich media mobile website that drives people, and that you'll see in her campaign she drives people to. And creative is at the heart of this too. I'm really a fan of this next case study because it was designed from the start to show how local mobile marketing demonstrably moved the needle at retail. And you'll see Kristin is going to illustrate this for us in a second. Yesterday we heard a number of brand marketers explain how they were challenged by attribution models with mobile, and of course the conventional wisdom that people sort of browse about on mobile and convert elsewhere. And we heard Google talk about the need to widen the discussion and the definition of conversion on mobile to embrace these behaviors. But by tying mobile marketing spend to bottom line sales, ultimately those are the sorts of conversions that really move the needle when it comes to marketing budgets. And that's one of the things that we're going to see in Meguiars' case study. Meguiar is, I believe I'm right, over a century-old brand, right, Meguiars? That's now owned by 3M. They put together several campaigns last year, 2 campaigns last year, and to walk us through how they both designed them to measure and how they were able to gauge effectiveness at the local level at retail. We have with us Kristin Ryba, who is the Senior Marketing Manager, Product and Brand at Meguiars. She manages the brand ad strategy and led the company into the mobile space several years ago. The learnings from these sorts of campaigns are now proliferating throughout 3M. And again, as I said, sometime today, go to Meguiars.com on your cell phone. It's a pretty cool experience, and you can see how the creative was really driving and inspiring people into retail. Please welcome Kristin Ryba.
Thank you. Good segue for the last question. I'm one of the clients, the no's. And since we've been talking about ROI, a good place for us to start. Do I click forward like this? Here we go. Yeah, a good case for us to start, for you to understand what we are defining here at Meguiars as ROI. We heard in Google yesterday talking about adding in conversions there. And just for us on the client side, really we're talking about our investment and the incremental sales. And we see a lot of different ROI metrics even across all of 3M. And for a baseline for our company, it really, really does come down to what we can incrementally see as sales. And then for those of you who aren't aware of who Meguiars is, we are the leading car care company. So in auto specialty, we're the #1 brand. We do have a professional side into body shops, but a majority of our business is in retail, Advance, AutoZone, Walmart. But the key that makes our brand really different than our competitive set is our passionate consumers. So while our loyalty while our awareness is maybe lower in some groups, but those that do love us really love us. And so we're really passionate about those car guys. We have 3 big rigs crossing the country, supporting over 150 car shows and car events every year. So we interact with our consumers on a basis. And so something going forward for us with all of our creative, but especially too in mobile, is that off-the-shelf solutions just really were not helpful for us. We lose the passion, we lose that dynamic, and for our consumers, that is just something that's really important. So one of the reasons when we did start getting into mobile was how do we make sure we keep our brand passion through that and not just use Magenta or something that we could plug and play and would have been probably a lot cheaper for us. So when we started in mobile, we started about 3 years ago. You hear all the consumers are using mobile to shop, they're using it to make more decisions, they're using it for store locators, which are all great from how Coca-Cola does stuff, or you see these really like Crest toothpaste, but the question is, how does our Meguiars consumer really use mobile, and would they use our brand for mobile? So we started with the basics. We built our mobile site because we knew we had to have the foundation. If you're going to do mobile tactics, you need to have a mobile-enabled site. And we did, even though I know the customer decision cycle has gotten a little more complicated, but for simplicity, you can see we did things in awareness, we did things along trial, and we did things in loyalty. So we did ads and mobile ads and apps, rich media ads. we did trial, Checkpoint, and I can't remember the other one, the scan one. And then for loyalty, we did SMS program, and we did start that too in print for a couple ways. One, to build a loyal SMS user, but then also I used it as a way to use metrics for our print, because a lot of the smaller books that we were in don't do user surveys or user data. So all of this, we did this for a couple years, and we come back and we say, our Meguiars consumer is mobile, and we feel we were very happy, with the results. So we saw, over 15% of our traffic coming to Meguiars.com coming via mobile devices. This month we're up to 18%. 6 times the higher interaction with our ads and with desktop. So this should not be a surprise. I think mobile's usually about 5 times. So we were, a little higher than average. This isn't even addressing into what we've been doing with our Hispanic campaign for mobile, because those results are even much higher. So I was happy to hear this morning addressing about the needs for Hispanic and reaching out to the Hispanic audience via mobile. For our rich media ads, you see there, consumers average spending 29 seconds with that. So as a marketer trying to decide whether to do TV buys and mobile buys, I have a 29-second, basically TV commercial that people may be DVRing through or not even watching. And here, and much less spend, I had people actually dedicated to spending 29 seconds with my brand. We saw a 25% lift in purchase intent, doing testing before and after for metrics there. And with the checkpoints and the scan data, we were able to show in 4 weeks that we brought 100,000 people into a store. And in many cases, if you're in a Walmart or Target, our auto care section is in the back of the store. So we were able to get people to go into the store, into the back of the store, pick up our product, take a photo of this, and then we can tell our retailers, hey, we're driving, feet of our brand into your store. And then with our SMS program, we had about 20,000 people enter. Where might be different from Coke, getting that in maybe a day, but for us, we were very happy with the results. So we shared them with our team, we're all excited, and then this is what we hear back from sales and from some upper management, so what? So just because you increase purchase intent, did anybody buy anything? Just because you have these people in your program, what does it even matter? So luckily, mobile technology evolved on where we can go to, and we did get these learnings that we're able to kind of take it and push it to the next level and use geofencing for our brand. So we worked with the group. Our agency that we work with for mobile strategy is Forward, FRWD, and we work at their Santa Monica office. So we worked with them and put a map of where our retailers are, and to try to see the density of where, what would be the best markets for us, to try to say where would be the first top markets we'd want to start with. Then we drove in and added more data and looked at how much mobile inventory is there, how affordable is the mobile inventory out there, to try to get down where we could have some target markets. And so for there we had our controlled and exposed markets. And something interesting of layering in all that data, and especially from the mobile site, is that some of the markets popped up that we wouldn't necessarily see from a broadcast side. So for car care, our business is very seasonal, and for the most part, it tends to follow the Smile, California up through Florida. So here you see that we do have Chicago and Cleveland come up, and those are areas a lot of times on other mediums don't necessarily get the attention in car care because they have weather, and when it's like this outside, people aren't thinking about how can I wax my car. So then we took that and worked with the gentleman from For Info mentioned Place IQ. So this is the other layer on top of that, where you're actually adding in the behavioral pieces of it. So here we have where our retailers are, where's the biggest footprint, adding where can we have the best share of voice for our mobile to really make our dollar go farther than as far as it can. And then adding in what are the behavioral things. So finding people when they're having these automotive moments. So trying to find them when they have looked at a used car or looking for directions. So it's beyond just you're close to a store. You're close to a store, you're a male, and you have a tendency to preference to be into auto care. So we launched that campaign. We ran it for 7 weeks. So we had 2 different creatives running of this tag there of got weekend plans, or spring flowers, bring clean cars. And then we had them, the second, for the animation, the second banner there linked for an actual in-store promotion that we had And we tested this with 2 different retailers to see how that worked. And so for our results, for every dollar we spent, we were able to actually get $1.31 back in incremental sales. We actually saw a lift just of our brand sales, so not even the whole category. So that's something that, one, we can just take as a brand and tell our sales force. So this is, great for our retailers, but it also helps us level the playing field for all the other marketing activities out there. So when we talk about what does in-store training give me, what does running a store event give me, so it starts giving us a metric that we can kind of bring mobile into the idea in terms of having that actual conversation with the other more traditional marketing efforts out there. We did see variance by key partners, so by retailer. So one retailer gave us about a 6% brand lift. The other retailer gave us a 1%. So really the majority of those sales were from the first retailer. We've seen this habit with the 6% retailer through a lot of our other mobile efforts. Their actual consumer base is just much more mobile and digitally savvy. So we can work with them and their teams a little farther on how to increase that. But we can also tell the other retailer, if you want to be more competitive with where the future's going, your current base isn't there. Let us work together on how to reach out to your consumers coming to your store and be smarter and more available on the mobile space. And so it leads into us just being this true mobile partner for our consumers. When we started in mobile 3 years ago, big CPG companies were there, no one in our industry was there. So none of Armor All, Turtle Wax, Eagle One, none of them had mobile, and some of them still don't have mobile-enabled sites. And even our partners, our retail partners on the auto specialty side and AutoZone and Advance had no mobile. So we were really kind of blazing this trail to see how a car guy would be mobile, on our own. And now we can come to them and say, these are the learnings we have of how a car guy relates in mobile, the information they want, and help the retailer be a little smarter in that space. And then for our business in particular, some things we learned, we did do a second testing of of the geofencing, and we saw a 1% to 3% lift depending on the retailer. So it was a little less than our first test, but it also was later in the season for us. So that we tend to see drop in most of our media as we get to the end of car care season, sort of August and September anyway. So it still was a relatively good lift, but it lets us know just to make sure of our timing through geofencing, and then also just what type of deal we're offering. You saw in the creative, some of it's longer, like buy 2 for 10, and so we're trying to push with our retailers of how we can have a simpler message, but some of it is, from the promotional calendars are already set, so some of it is the deal that how can we communicate as fast as possible and as little bit of a space for people to be able to click on this and be interested. So those are our results. I don't know if you want to go questions for panel.
So we have a couple of. Kristin's going to stay on for the panel on local success stories. But if anybody has any questions now, we can we have a second to ask her. Did the competitive set change at all over that time? Is that part of it? Were some of your competitors starting to get share of voice?
Our competitors are starting to be in mobile now. I'm not sure necessarily from the mobile advertising side, but they definitely have been much more in the digital side, and we have seen mobile-enabled sites that weren't there before.
Have you found that you've made the case with some of your retailers?
Yes. Yeah. Good. Auto specialty in particular. A Target and a Walmart, mass is there. Our challenge with mass more so is always the idea that we're low turns in the world of mass. We're not toothpaste. We're not shampoo. So it's just getting through that a little bit for them to, give us the space. From an auto specialty standpoint, it's probably the same way. I know there's a gentleman from Staples. When you're dealing with office specialty too, sometimes it's getting their systems up to speed. So many of the stores still can't take mobile coupons. The idea of when we want to take this next, we have some logistics that are difficult, but they're definitely hearing that mobile's important. 3M, our parent company, is definitely hearing that mobile's important. So there's been a lot of activation on 3M's consumer brands, Post-it, Scotch, et cetera. So.
And in this case, you're using a combination of both geo-targeting, which is clearly targeting very close to their stores, and their own sales figures. It's hard for them to argue with those numbers.
Right.
Right? That this lift is really coming from this source.
Exactly.
The attribution is clear to them.
And that's something that's a little bit different than some of the other brands that are here. I mean, we aren't a retailer. We don't have a physical property, so we have to go through a second layer to try to make sure we can get that data and show that connection. If we had, I mean, we do sell, you know, some online, but that's not really our main driver. So sometimes it's just hard to get the Amazons of the world and the, you know, AutoZones of the world to share their data. But once they start seeing results like this, now they're saying, how can I do more of that?
Right. Kristin, thank you very much. And stay right there. We're going to have Rachel's panel come on up and join her.